Turning back to politics and the economy, one of Donald Trump's often repeated campaign promises this year was to bring down the price of groceries very quickly.
Because people can't afford their groceries, and they're going to be affording their groceries very soon.
And I went on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries.
A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper. It'll also bring your grocery bill way down. I have more complaints on grocery. The word grocery, it's sort of a simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does. And I have more complaints about that. Bacon and things going up, double, triple, quadruple. I don't like the tags very much. Look at that, up 46% eggs. Wow. Up 65%. Wow, school lunch is up 65%. How can a family afford that? I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. I'm going to take them back with me. Bacon is through the roof. They're all through the roof. The milk, everything is bad. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to bring prices way down, and we'll get it done fast.
Marveling at his own discovery of the word groceries, but in his Time Magazine Person of the Year interview conducted late last month, announced yesterday, he acknowledged lowering the price of groceries will not be so easy, saying, quote, "It's hard to bring things down once they're up. It's very hard, but I think that they will." Jonathan Lemire, there's so much to plow through and dig through in this Time Person of the Year interview. All these admissions of, well, I said a lot on the campaign trail, but it's going to be a little tougher once I'm in the White House. He talked about inflation. He talked about actually Ukraine. I'm not so sure I can solve that on day one, as I promised. We'll dig into a whole bunch of that as we go. But obviously, no president, no person can come in on day one and bring down the price of eggs, bacon, and other groceries. It's a word, John. It's a simple word that people are using now. Groceries.
Yeah, the groceries all the rage. It's always such a tell when Trump is reading something for the first time and he reacts to it in real time, like he was with those price tags. And then when he saw the Cheerios on the table and realized, that might be his lunch there at Bedminster that day. But Mike Barnicle, you, among all of us at this table, have been for months, if not years, singularly focused on the price of groceries. You got there before Trump did. And those particularly at the Market Basket franchise that you and I so near.
Because he goes early morning on his days off.
So Saturday morning.
Near and dear to our hearts, the Market Basket.
Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m., I'm in Market Basket in Waltham doing the grocery shopping. And it was amazing to me during the course of this past campaign that the Democrats didn't focus more on the actual cost of groceries. They kept talking about the national economy, in terms of global economies, the strongest in the world, yes, but the lived economy, the way people actually live and pay for things. Nowhere does it occur more in reality each and every day than in grocery stores and at gas stations. And I'm wondering, what do you think, Elise? What do you think the over-under is on the last time that Donald Trump was in a grocery store? 40 years? 50 years?
Wow. I mean, does 7-Eleven count? Maybe on a campaign stop? Maybe on the campaign trail he wandered in, but I doubt that even as a teenager he ever went to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Probably not. But also, I would add fast food to your list of concerns, too, which kind of like merges with groceries. It is insane how expensive fast food has gotten, and so much of the country relies on it. Just the other day, getting a diet eliminated Chick-fil-A, $4.75.
Yeah, McDonald's now has semi-happy meals.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did an event. We're reminded he did an event at a campaign stop in September. He also effectively appeared at McDonald's, which was something that those in his team thought was effective. But Willie, I'm curious. This will be another moment, though, where Trump acknowledged, look, it's going to be hard to bring these prices down. Do we think that he will face any sort of backlash from supporters if he doesn't? Will we see that reflected in his poll numbers? We know that President Biden, despite a robust legislative agenda, would drag down his poll numbers more than anything was high prices, right? Inflation, the fact that it just costs so much more to go to the store, to go to McDonald's, whatever it might be. In the past, his supporters have always stayed with Trump, but he made this such a signature promise. One wonders if 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now, things are still high, what that does to his approval.
Yeah, it's a good question because it is the issue that cuts across everything. right? It cuts across all these demographic groups that Democrats were trying to target and Republicans were trying to win over. And we talked a lot about abortion and immigration and democracy and all those things that are so important. But at the end of the day, it was, as Mike has always said, the cost of groceries that was decisive, Caddy K. And there is nothing that Donald Trump can do. Obviously, the prices have come down since those peak days a couple of years ago when prices were so astronomically high, but not low enough. And Joe Biden would be the first to tell you that he suffered because of that. Kamala Harris suffered because of that. They thought they did what they could do to strengthen the economy and bring the prices down. But whatever those grand concerns were about other lofty issues during the campaign, at the end of the day, life was just too expensive and remained so for a lot of Americans.
Yeah, ask all of those other governments and leaders around the world who also got swept out of office in a year in which there were so many elections and people post-COVID suffering from supply chain shocks, suffering from inflation shocks everywhere got thrown out of office. I mean, I think the Democrats did suffer from the fact, on top of that, that they were out there trying to tell people that the economy was getting better. And by many metrics, the economy has been getting better at a time when people didn't feel it was getting better. And that disconnect didn't help them. I mean, saying to people, well, actually, you shouldn't be feeling bad about the price of eggs because if you look at it, the inflation is slowing or employment is picking up again. You can't tell voters what they should be feeling. Voters feel what they feel. And that means that in 4 years' time, if the economy is still not doing well, if we have a tariff war in which not only the price of imports goes up, but the price of American exports goes up, making it harder for Americans to sell things abroad because of retributive tariffs, is that a thing? Anyway, it's too early in the morning for that word. Tariffs that are imposed because of retribution. Then you'll have, do you start then getting some added dissatisfaction? I think it's this cumulative feeling of kind of unease, unhappiness, anger, I'm pissed off. If people are still feeling that in 4 years, sure, they'll blame the party that's in government, whether it's Donald Trump or not Donald Trump.
Caddy, generally I would hop in to save you, but I don't know how to say that word either. Let's dumb it down to punitive, maybe. Punitive tariffs. Maybe we both can say that.